My mom defended my sister, who stole money from me and wanted to send me to a military school. This happened when I was 14 years old, roughly a year before my parents' divorce. My younger sister would always quickly spend money on food at the mall, video games, and clothes from Hot Topic. Although my parents also gave me pocket money, my dad made me earn it by cleaning the house and working in the yard. My sister, on the other hand, didn't do anything unless Dad was standing right next to her. Mom didn't make her do anything either, except clean her own room. To earn extra money, I mowed neighbors' lawns, collected cans around the neighborhood to exchange them for 5 cents each, and did other small jobs. At the time, I was saving up for a scooter to get around town. Over 2 years, by doing odd jobs and saving most of my pocket money, I managed to save about $2,000. However, saving this money wasn't easy, mainly because of my sister. She knew all my hiding spots and would steal from me. Here's roughly how it would go. Me: "Hey sister, did you take my money again?" Sister: "What? No." She would lie when caught. Me: "You're terrible at lying. I'm missing $100 from my savings." Sister: "Leave me alone. I didn't do it." She would start crying loudly and run to Mom. Sister: "Mom, he's bothering me." Me: "She stole my money again." Mom, snapping her fingers at me: "Shut up. Can't you see my baby is upset? She said she didn't take it, so she didn't. End of story. If you don't stop, I'll punish you." Me: "I know she did it. If you don't make her return the money, I'll tell Dad." Mom: "That's unnecessary. Besides, you don't have proof that she took your money." Me: "Yes, I do. I keep track of every dollar. 3 days ago, I had $4,000, and now it's only $3,900. $100 is missing. You know she's stolen from me before, and she ran out of pocket money this month. Yesterday, you took her shopping. Where did she get the money?" Mom paused for a moment, then frowned. Mom: "You know what? You're grounded. Go to your room, or I'll get the belt." I could have argued further, but if I learned one thing in this house, it was knowing when to stop and call my dad. I went to my room, slamming the door, pulled out my Nokia, and called my dad at work. He didn't answer, so I left a message explaining everything. About an hour later, he called back and said he would handle it. Soon, I heard the landline ring and Mom yelling. I couldn't make out everything, but I heard Mom trying to justify herself, which never worked when she was in the wrong. Eventually, she yelled something like, "Fine. If she really took the money, you'll get it back because she's already spent it." Then, Mom stormed into my room and screamed at me. "Mom, I can't believe you ratted me out, you ungrateful brat. After everything I do for you, you couldn't just ignore such a small amount?" Me: "So you're admitting you stole the money?" Mom, with a smirk: "Yeah, so what? Girls need more money than boys. You should have just given it to her. It's not much." Me: "She stole $100. Even if it was just $1, I'd still want it back. You wouldn't want someone stealing from your purse, would you? It's no different. If my sister steals from me, she's guilty, and you know it. I want the money back, one way or another. I earned it through honest work, and she's done nothing." Mom: "My baby doesn't have to do anything. She's a princess and deserves to be treated as such." Me: "That's not my problem. She can be a princess as long as she stays away from me and my stuff." Mom: "That's it, kid. I'm going to beat your butt." I stood up and looked her straight in the eyes, as at 14, I was already her height and pretty strong from working outside. Me: "Try it. I won't let you, because I haven't done anything wrong." Mom froze for a moment, then let out a loud growl. She swung her arm, trying to knock something off my dresser, but she hit too low and slammed her hand against the dresser itself. I'm sure it hurt. She grabbed her hand, trying to hold back the pain, glared at me with tears in her eyes, and then just turned around and left. I heard her screaming and pounding on the walls as she walked down the hallway and descended the stairs. Then she went to the kitchen to do what she usually did when things didn't go her way, head to the wine fridge and drink. My sister was watching me from her doorway. She looked scared, then quickly retreated to her room, slamming the door shut. Mom was her trump card to avoid punishment for everything she did to me. But things quickly changed. A few minutes later, Dad returned from work and brought my sister to my room. He made her admit that she stole the money and told me I was not grounded. My sister refused to even look at me while being forced to apologize. At first, she spoke in the quietest, squeaky voice until Dad told her to repeat it louder several times. She finally almost shouted her apology. After that, Dad handed me $100 to compensate for the stolen money and said my sister was grounded for a week. The stolen amount was deducted from her pocket money, which made her burst into tears and curse at Dad before running back to her room. Meanwhile, Mom sat in the backyard, humming to herself with her favorite wine, ignoring all of us. She never apologized to me and acted as if nothing had happened. As upsetting as it was, my sister still got her pocket money the next time, but this time Mom gave it to her instead of Dad. A few days later, on Dad's day off, we went to a local store, and he bought me a safe for storing money and other valuables. We didn't tell Mom or my sister about it. The safe had a 4-digit code, and if I remember correctly, I set it to 4,962. I put all my money in the safe, locked it, and hid it in the back of my closet. Weeks passed. One day, I came home after mowing neighbors' lawns and found my room completely trashed. I called Mom and told her what my sister had done to my room. As always, Mom denied everything. Mom: my baby didn't do that. Me: well, then you did it. Mom: no. Me: then who else could have done it? The room was clean when I left, and no one else was here but you two. Clearly irritated by my logic, Mom finally admitted, fine. But if she did do it, it's because you treat her badly. I called Dad again and left a message on his work voicemail explaining what had happened. Then I went to my sister's room and told her I knew she was the one who trashed my room. Before she could respond, I added, you won't be able to get my money anymore because it's locked in a safe. This sent her into a full-blown tantrum, and of course, Mom came rushing in like an angry mama bear. I just repeated that my sister could no longer access my money, and went back to my room to clean up. While my sister kept screaming in her room for about 20 minutes, nothing was stolen or broken. Everything was just thrown around. The next day, however, I found my room trashed again, and this time, the window was broken. My sister had thrown the safe out of the window because she couldn't open it. I immediately called Dad. When Mom and Dad came home from work, my sister proudly admitted to what she had done. Mom even tried to defend her, saying, you shouldn't have bought that safe in the first place. But Dad scolded her and said he had bought the safe for me because he was tired of my sister stealing my money. Every time she stole and spent my money, Dad had to reimburse me, as Mom never did. My parents had to replace the window in my room. Dad also installed a lock on my door, and even mounted a wall safe near the door with a combination lock to store the key to my room. My sister was grounded for a month for breaking the window, and stayed in her room the whole time when Dad was home. However, when Dad was at work, Mom let her do whatever she wanted, like playing video games or watching TV. I didn't tell Dad about this because I knew that if I did, Mom and my sister would go out of their way to make my life even worse. After her month-long punishment ended, my sister started begging me for money every time she spent all her pocket savings. I would just tell her that she wouldn't return it anyway because she never earned or saved anything. For fun, I even wrote a promissory note and asked her to sign it in front of Dad, but she tore it in half and ran to Mom to complain about how unfair I was to her. She and Mom tried to pressure me into giving her money, but I simply reminded them that Dad could do it instead. So, if my sister wanted more money, she definitely wasn't getting it from me. After that, Mom tried to send me to military school, but Dad didn't allow it. If anyone is wondering why Dad didn't help me open a savings account back then, I really don't know. I think it was just normal for us to keep money in cash. Update: one time, because of me, Mom slammed into the door. Shortly after Dad gave me the safe, he also installed a lock on my bedroom door and a wall-mounted combination safe to store the key because my sister had thrown the safe out the window. We set everything up while Mom and my sister weren't home. When my sister first walked past my room that day, I saw her glance at the lock and immediately run to Mom. The two of them rushed upstairs together, but Dad and I were waiting for them at the door. Here's roughly how the conversation went. Mom, snapping her fingers and pointing, "What is this nonsense?" Dad, "A lock on the door." Mom, "I know it's a damn lock. But why is it there?" Dad, "Because you never punish her or stop her from destroying other people's rooms. So now, there's going to be a lock." Mom, "He's only 14, and this is my house. He can't have a lock on his door." Dad, "No, this is our house. As far as I remember, I've been paying most of the mortgage and bills. You barely contribute anything, and I'm tired of you enabling her while our son suffers because of it." Mom, "Then I demand you give me the code to this lock." Dad, with a stone-cold expression, "I won't do that because you've proven you can't be trusted." Mom exploded, stomping down the stairs loudly. My sister stood there with a sulking look on her face before slowly heading back to her room. With the new lock, everything was fine, and I got used to locking it every time I left my room. More than once, I noticed Mom and my sister watching closely as I entered the code. But I always covered the keypad with my hand or body, which annoyed them to no end, though they couldn't do anything about it. One day, toward the end of the month, my sister came to me, begging to borrow $40 so she could buy a video game she really wanted. Me, "Why are you asking me for money again, when we both know you'll never pay it back?" Sister, "I swear I will." Me, "No, you won't. Every month, you spend all your money and then some, and you think it's better to spend it all than pay off your debts. You always do this." Sister, "No, I don't." Me, "Well, let's test that." I went to my room, grabbed a piece of paper and a pen, and wrote a promissory note by hand. It stated that my sister would repay me $40 when she received her next allowance. The note was to be signed in front of Dad as a witness. My sister read the note, started sniffling, then tore it in half and ran crying to Mom. That's what she did every time something didn't go her way. Sister, sobbing, "Mom, you know what he did again?" Mom, "What did he do this time?" Me, "She wanted to borrow money, and I asked her to sign a promissory note in front of Dad. She lost her temper." Mom, "Why would you do that?" "She just wanted to borrow a little money." Me, "Would you sign a promissory note if I wanted to make sure she'd pay it back?" Mom, "You little brat. I'm not signing anything. Just lend her the money." Me, "Only if she signs the note." Mom stood up, extended her hand as if ready to hit me, but then stopped herself. Mom, "You're just like your father. You need to document everything." I hate it. I went back to my room thinking, good thing I'm like Dad, because that's way better than being like you or my sister. You never do anything good. Mom, what did you just say, you little brat? She started coming up the stairs just as I entered my room and locked the door. Mom had a habit of barging into my room to yell at me, often throwing the door open with enough force to rip the lock off. But this time, the new lock was still unfamiliar to her. I bolted the door, and when she tried to barge in, she slammed into it with a loud thud. I heard her fall to the floor and scream in pain. She'd hit the door with her body and face. The door, by the way, was solid wood. Mom ended up with a swollen lip and a bruise on her forehead. I opened the door to find her lying on the floor, pounding her fists. Mom, you set me up, you little monster. Me, you ran into the door yourself. Mom, you're grounded. Get out of my sight. I called Dad and told him what had happened. He sighed over the phone and said I wasn't grounded, but that we would have a serious conversation later about teasing her. He told me to let him handle Mom when he got home. In the end, Dad gave me a stern lecture, added extra chores to my list, and cut my allowance for the month. But that was it. From that day forward, every time my sister asked me for money, I would demand she sign a promissory note. She hated it, and it drove her crazy. Update 2. My mom tried to send me to military school and forged my dad's signature. After the last time I stood up to my mom when she threatened to spank me, she seemed to become more cautious, realizing that if she actually tried to hit me, it could end very badly for her. So, she mostly just yelled at me and didn't touch me, at least until years later when she tried to take my house. I didn't pay much attention to her tantrums and kept doing my usual things, school and odd jobs. My 15th birthday was approaching, and Dad gave me a bike engine so I could get around town. He told me it would be better to save up for a car rather than a scooter, and in the meantime, I could use the electric bike. I agreed with his logic and started saving for a car. A few days later, I found a military school brochure while sweeping grass clippings in the backyard after mowing the lawn. It was under the table near Mom's favorite spot for drinking wine. I had a bad feeling that she was planning some crazy scheme, so I waited for Dad to come home and showed him the brochure. He was furious but didn't jump to conclusions. He went to Mom with the brochure to ask her about it. Dad, honey, what's this? Mom, I don't know. I've never seen it before. Dad, really? Because it says here that you were planning to send me to military school. You know I would never allow that. At that point, Mom stopped pretending to be innocent and screamed. He needs to learn discipline. He's always locking his door, and I can't spank him anymore because he's too big. This is the only way to punish him for being such a disobedient brat. Dad, he hasn't done anything wrong. If anything, our daughter is the real problem because of you and the way you let her steal from her brother. The discussion about sending him to military school is over. If you try to go through with it, I swear there will be serious consequences. Mom, well, it looks like this whole family is trying to take away the last bit of control I have in this house. If I have nothing left, then my life is meaningless. Dad, stop being so dramatic. He is growing up and becoming independent. He earns his own money. After that, Mom stormed out of the room. The next morning, before school, I saw her furiously shoving something into the kitchen trash can. I waited until she left for work and pulled it out. It was a completed application for military school, entirely in her handwriting. The application required the signatures of both parents or guardians, and there were 2 signatures on it. I recognized Mom's, but the second was a pathetic attempt to forge Dad's signature. Dad was always proud of his intricate signature, and Mom didn't stand a chance of copying it without leaving obvious signs of forgery. Apparently, she realized this after getting caught and gave up on the idea of sending me away. I saved the papers and showed them to Dad later. He was angry but figured that Mom had already abandoned the plan, so he decided to let it go. However, he kept the documents in his office just in case. A few months later, it turned out that Mom had been cheating on Dad with her high school ex-boyfriend. That was the last straw for Dad, and he filed for divorce. A few months after that, I moved in with him when he'd bought a new house. The divorce process sped up when Dad presented the military school papers with Mom's forged signature. It wasn't the first time she'd done something like that. He also had proof that she'd forged his signature on at least one credit card application and some other document, though I don't remember the details. Mom got the house because Dad didn't want it, but she also demanded child support and alimony since my sister, as expected, chose to stay with her. The court granted Mom child support and minimal alimony with monthly payments for 10 years. In essence, the alimony only covered my sister's allowance. Mom was furious about this and threatened to take Dad back to court, but he held the threat of exposing her forgeries over her head, keeping her quiet for years. The day I moved to Dad's new house, my sister stuck out her tongue at me and smugly declared, "Mom said I'm the princess and the better child, and that's why you're leaving." I just shook my head and told her I didn't care what she or Mom thought anymore. Then I walked out the door, finally feeling as free as a bird. My relationship with my sister worsened whenever she came to visit Dad once a week until we eventually stopped talking altogether. I didn't visit Mom much either. She had practically turned my old room into a home office.